Hello and welcome to Keep Your Daydream. I'm Trish and this is Mark, and we are here to discuss a very neutral subject.
Super neutral.
Nobody has an opinion on this.
Everyone's kind of on the fence. They're just not exactly sure when it comes to this topic.
Waffling.
Is it safe for you to travel to Mexico by RV? We received so many comments on this topic, and we just got back from 2.5 months now down near Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. We have driven over 3,000 miles, and the point of this video is to share with you how we approached the safety concern when it comes to RVing in Mexico.
So please know, this is not a video to try and convince you to go down to Mexico.
Nope.
We're not saying that it's super safe, and we're not saying that it's super unsafe. We just want to give you the information because we know you're smart enough to make your own choices.
That's right.
But it is very helpful to have other people's information so that you can make that choice.
That's right. So we're going to break this down into 5 topics. But before we dive into the first one, let's just take a moment to look at the big picture when it comes to the safety in Mexico. First of all, where you get your information is very important. Had we got our information from the news, we were going to die. We shouldn't have left our house.
Just stay right where you are.
Just stay
Don't
where you are.
Just
Do not leave your
are.
house, okay? When you go onto Facebook, not much better. So it's important to know. I'm just looking at that bee, wondering if it's going to be done. Like, did the bee go over the lens?
It did a couple times, so that's okay.
It'd be interesting to see what happened.
Yeah. Oh, he thinks the camera is a flower. Get information from people who have done it. So you'll find from time to time things get blown out of proportion. So a good example Mark always brings up is this.
When we stayed in Chicago and we were there over 4th of July weekend, and we later found out that there were 63 gun-related murders that weekend. And so when it comes to Chicago, because we're from the States, we realized that like the entire Chicago isn't necessarily a problem. So we're like, well, where in Chicago do we need to be? What's safe to be? And you kind of create a plan. We certainly didn't say Illinois isn't safe. We certainly didn't say the Midwest isn't safe or United States isn't safe. There's just certain areas and certain cities that are a problem. But the contrast is when something happens in Mexico, no matter where in Mexico it is, the entire country is condemned as saying, oh, another situation in Mexico, you shouldn't go.
Well, and that information changes a lot too. So what we're saying is pinpoint where you're going and find out about it because things change.
That's right.
Some areas become, more dangerous than others, and some areas are completely travel friendly.
But yet, if you go to just the travel advisories, you'll be scared to death and you won't do it.
Right.
So pinpoint those areas you'd like to go. Find out on Facebook groups and find other resources in that area so that you can actually talk to people and get real information. It's very important, no matter Mexico, Europe,
yes,
South America, sailing, RVing, figure out where you're going to get your information from and start there.
Okay, so.
All right, you ready to dive into the first topic?
I'm ready. Numero uno, safety mindset.
That's good Spanish.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Gracias.
Gracias, de nada.
Okay, so safety mindset. We all do things from time to time that are unsafe. But we try to do them safely, right?
Yes.
So we have to take precautions. Have that safety mindset. Prepare yourself. Hey, I'm not going to just jump in my car and head on down. I'm going to figure out where I'm going, who I'm traveling with whom I'm traveling,
yes,
and where I'm going, all that stuff. You want the details, you want to dive into it, and you want to take it on like it's something important.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons why we did it safely is because we were prepared. It wasn't like, hey, you want to go to Mexico? Yeah, let's go to Mexico. You get in the car and you start driving. We had a plan. And that's another point is if you have a plan and you know where you're going to go and you know where you're going to stay, you're on mission. And anywhere in the country, Mexico or otherwise, if you are on mission and you're going somewhere, you are less of a target. If you're in New York City and you've got the foam Statue of Liberty hat on, let me tell you, you're a target.
Target.
Okay, you're a target. But
you might be having fun.
If you're in the same environment and you know where you're going, you're just less vulnerable.
Yes. So if you have kids, make sure they know what's happening. And if you, for some reason or another, need to figure out where you're going, you got a little lost, something like that, duck into a restaurant. Have some downtime so that you can regroup and, again, be on mission.
I think what you're saying is don't be out in the middle of a street or a corner and like bury it into your phone with your kids running around because, again, you've just made yourself a target. So if you find yourself in that situation, go find an area to do a little regroup. The other thing is, because we stayed at La Penita RV Park, and Antonio down there is kind of like the concierge of the whole park. Absolutely fantastic. First time we left La Penita to go into Puerto Vallarta or Guadalajara, wherever we went, he gave us his business card the first time with his cell phone number on it. He says, if anything happens whatsoever, you have the number. That way, if you're in a situation where someone doesn't speak English or you don't speak Spanish well enough and you need someone to translate for you or get you out of a situation, we have the card.
Right. So you might want to distribute those to your kids, and everybody should have one. Before you even leave home, make a photocopy of your passport and any of your information so that if you are out in town and you lose your purse or something, then you have a backup plan. That backup plan is pretty important. But just letting people know where you're going, and then have a Spanish-speaking resource. That made me feel a little bit more comfortable.
Okay, so the second point is driving in Mexico, which, by the way, is a two-person job.
See.
One person's driving, and the navigator is looking for potholes, looking for topos, which are speed bumps, looking for the fact that the lanes could just change, they could merge, this thing could go over.
Semi-trucks. Have I talked about semi-trucks yet? Semi-trucks and buses.
Buses and semi-trucks will pass you like you are going backwards.
There's 2 lanes, but really there's 4. And you were like, really? I was supposed to drive in the emergency lane? Yes.
Well, yeah, if there's a highway with 2 lanes, there's a like kind of a shoulder. And what they do is they just everyone just kind of gets over and they ride the shoulder to turn a 2-lane road into a 4-lane road.
Yes.
It's actually incredibly effective. But it takes a little bit of getting used to.
Yes. So driving is definitely a 2-person job. And then also you want to research the toll roads. They were really great for us. They helped just make everything really streamlined. And then that came with some services like the Green Angels and things like that. But one of the things too is that we didn't have to navigate through tiny little towns and all of that. So.
Yeah, and Trish brought up the Green Angels. So the Green Angels is a service that helps people with anything from a mechanical issue to even a health-related issue, all sorts of things that you might encounter on the road. And it's not just the toll roads, it's many roads in Mexico. So there's a toll booth about every 2.5 kilometers where you can call the Green Angels. And then if you pass a sign, you could write their number down and just call them up on your cell phone, because generally speaking, you're going to have cell coverage across the entire country.
Well, let's get into communication, because talking about cell phones are great. You most likely will have a great connection. However, if you are driving in a caravan, which is point number 3.
Caravan.
Trace. Caravan. Okay, but what comes with a caravan is communication. So you're going to want to be able to talk. Hand signals are not okay. We need to have somebody communicating. Hey, there's a bus coming up. Hey, we're about to get off. Hey, we need to pull over.
Well, let me put it this way. If your caravan does not have a way to communicate with each other, you're not a caravan.
Yeah.
Because basically what's going to happen is if you get together with people maybe that you don't know and you say, hey, can I travel with you? And they say, sure, hop on, and you can't communicate with them. And let's just say you're last, because that's where that person goes, and and something were to happen and you pull off, they'd look in the rearview mirror and go, oh, they just have to go to the bathroom, and they're going to keep driving. There's no loyalty in that situation.
Yeah.
If you're going to create a caravan, then you're going to decide in advance, where are we going to start in the morning, what time are we going to start, how far are we going to go, and you're going to have that whole thing mapped out, how we're going to communicate, either CB or hand radio.
So when we're talking about caravans, typically the caravan is someone that you would hire. You would spend money for someone to lead the way and do a majority of the thinking for you. But we were on what was called a buddy system. And that is just a group of people that have agreed to stay together, to communicate well, and, you know, help the weakest link, really.
Yeah, that's right. Now, the question is, why is a caravan so important? Because, you know, frankly, driving in Mexico alone isn't really that dangerous. We know lots of people that do it. I think the real importance of having a caravan is, should something go wrong? If you had a mechanical issue at, let's say, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and you're alone, now you have to start making decisions. Who's going to stay with the rig? Who's going to go with the car? If it's just your family and the husband goes in the car, then the wife and the kids are left back in the RV. There's too many variables. If you're in a caravan and even one other person, you can start making decisions, right? There might be different configurations of rigs and fifth wheels and travel trailers and toads. And so you can say, okay, this person's going to go try to get the part. This person's going to stay back, and you remain safe if something should go wrong.
Those layers of safety.
Layers of safety. And I think really that's the importance of having a group or a caravan. But generally speaking, driving in Mexico isn't that dangerous.
A little shaky.
A little shaky sometimes. And I guess on that point, I would say 80% of the roads I think are absolutely fine.
They were great.
I think 10% of the roads are like, this is really bumpy.
Right.
I think 5% of the roads are like, my gosh, when's this going to end? And then the last 5%.
Maybe like 8 or 9 or 10%. I was in the passenger seat.
Okay.
There's a cliff. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Fair point. Fair point.
Okay, but let's talk about the one thing, and we're going to lead into the next point, and that is being prepared. Don't be the weakest link in your caravan. So that's bringing us to being prepared, right? Having extra supplies. You were prepared. You brought extra things.
Okay, sure. We were advised to carry an extra leaf spring should something happen to that. We were advised.
And we have a travel trailer.
That's right. We were advised to carry an extra bearing kit. We already had 2 spare tires. We really took a look at like the condition of my truck, and I went to my my truck mechanic and I said, look, anything it needs, take a look at everything. So we really wanted to show up in a situation where we felt like we were prepared.
Yes. Here's a saying for you: start early, end early.
Benjamin Franklin. Something about a penny wise. Our buddy caravan started promptly at 8 o'clock, and we were basically by our destination by 3 in the afternoon. This gave us plenty of time in case something were to happen on the road. We could get it resolved before dark. And plus, when you're in Mexico, you could be on a freeway with no guard rails, and there could be cows crossing the road.
Big.
You do not want to be driving on a Mexican highway at night. Period of the end. There's too many things. There's too many topos that won't have reflection signs. When you hit a topo, speed bump at 50 miles per hour in a rig, I mean, that could be the end of it.
Bad.
There's highways where there's a drop-off on the right-hand side. At night, I couldn't even imagine. I will say I would consider that to be unsafe. During the day, absolutely no problem.
Yeah. So start early, end early.
All right, Cinco, resources. There are so many resources for you to really dive deeper into this topic. Mike and Terri Church wrote a book called Camping in Mexico. That's a fantastic resource. I'll link that down below. Bill and Dot Bell wrote the Mexican logs. These logs basically...
Incredible, page by page, how you're going to encounter a topo here, you have a turnoff here, and then you flip the page and you're like, you're in this town.
Basically, it is
amazing.
a log of every single piece of the road from wherever you're starting and wherever you're ending. Every Pemex to stay at, by the way, a Pemex is the gas stations down there, but it's kind of like a little bit of a Walmart because you can actually stay at a Pemex overnight and it's a secured area. And in fact, many times they even have a security guard and whatnot.
You give them a tip and then you stay there overnight.
Yeah, so we did that on 2 different occasions, on the way down and then on the way...
Once on the way down, once on the way back.
Okay? And so you can find those road logs in the links below. And then also, Facebook groups on Mexico are fantastic. There's a Facebook group called On the Road In. Not only could you potentially find a buddy caravan group, but you can get links and leads to all sorts of other type of resources for you to find out. So there are some resources for you there. And by the way, this is not our official Mexico Q&A. That video is still yet to come, where we're going to talk about more topics like car insurance, health insurance, how to find caravans, drinking the water, all sorts of stuff on that. This was just about the safety.
Yes, because we're getting questions and we wanted to have an easy resource to let people know, hey, this is what we know, this is what we've learned.
And this is how we addressed it.
Fly with it.
Now, I will say, we spent 2.5 months in Mexico. We drove over 3,000 miles, and we did it without a single incident. We did it without a single close call. And I wouldn't say that we were lucky. I don't consider ourselves to be lucky. I really consider ourselves to be normal.
Well, there was one close call.
Yeah, but that was totally my fault. The road was merging, and again, there wasn't a sign, and there was a semi-truck beside me.
When I say close call, I really mean I'm happy to be here today. Okay?
The only way out of this was forward.
Oh my God.
People travel Mexico all the time without a single incident, and you'll never read about it anywhere.
No. So, you know, here's some basics. When you go into a place that you don't know, be kind, smile, use your manners, use your common sense. I know that there's the wrong place at the wrong time and things happen. I know it. However, you can get around a lot of that when you have people that don't even know you and they want to be on your side.
If you have a safety mindset, you can look around and you can sense that something's not right.
This is not right.
And it's important to stay and remain vigilant in any country you're in and look around and say, I don't think this is a good environment, and to move. You're in an RV. If you're watching this, you're in an RV. Go somewhere else.
Leave.
There's no reason to stay there. If something doesn't feel right, it's probably not right. Take off.
Yeah, easy to do.
Just another quick point, it's not a great idea to get involved in situations or business that you don't understand. In the States, maybe if you saw something that was of an injustice, you would like get involved or you would try to solve it. In another country, that's not your place. There's so many differences in culture and something going on that trying to like be a hero or help out is probably not going to be a great idea.
Well, here's a little tiny example, and this isn't even in a bar or something. We were on the beach and a dead turtle washed up, big, huge. And so like 4 or 5 of us went over there, and a local came up to us and said, you can't touch it. Only Mexican people are allowed to touch dead turtles because they have a process. And if you're from out of the country, you could actually get in trouble. How would you know that? You don't know that. You're just trying to do something that was helpful.
Okay, there you have it. That is all the information that we know when it comes to safety in Mexico, and we hope you found it helpful.
Yes, and if you have anything to add, please put it in the comments below, because you guys are the most awesome resource, and we appreciate it.
Truly. There is still so much more to come in our episodes of Season 2 in Mexico, so we will see you guys this weekend with a brand new episode. Anything else you got to add? Anything?
Love Mexico.
Oh my gosh. Mexico is fantastic. So if you can overcome some of the safety concerns and some of the distance and how far away it is and all those, if you can do it, it's worth the effort.
Life changer. It was really amazing.
And I'll tell you something else that's amazing. Where we're standing right now in the beautiful, carefree Arizona with these mountains and the sunset. I gotta flip this camera around and show you an Arizona sunset.
It's amazing. Come on, let's go.